Hey there, tech fans. Rick here again with a full review of the Orei UHD12-EX115-K HDMI splitter and extender kit. This single product is actually two products combined into one. It's an HDMI splitter, which allows you to share the output from any HDMI media device with two monitors simultaneously. But it's also an HDMI extender, which means those two monitors can be located up to 115 feet away from the primary location, and the only connection you'll need between those two locations is a Cat 6 or a Cat 7 LAN cable. The product fully supports 4K ultra-high definition media content and is both HDMI 2.0B as well as HDCP 1.x and 2.2 compliant. The kit also includes a set of infrared blasters that will collect up the remote control signals from both of your remote locations and send those signals back to the primary location over that LAN cable where they're rebroadcast so you can effectively remotely control the content you're watching. The transmitter features local loopback functionality, which means you can enjoy the content here while you're simultaneously sharing it with your remote locations. Finally, the product employs the very latest in power over cable technology, which means a single power supply is all you'll need to operate the entire solution because the power for the remote receivers, again, is sent over that same LAN cable. Now, as part of this review, I'd like to start with a really quick unboxing just to show you everything that's included with the kit, and then I'll take a closer look at the transmitter and receiver modules, I'll explain the connections and indicators, and then I'll come back and point out a few things that really separate this from a lot of other HDMI splitter and extender kits on the market. So let's get started with the unboxing. When you first pop open the box, you'll find a single transmitter module and two remote receiver modules. You'll find a single 12-volt 1-amp DC power supply. You can plug this into any standard wall outlet. The other end of that cable has a barrel connection on it with a locking collar, which plugs into the back of the transmitter and provides all the power you'll need for operation of the system. You'll find an infrared blaster kit that consists of two receivers and a single transmitter. These receivers plug into both of the remote location receivers, and the single transmitter, which has the smaller head, plugs into the transmitter. You'll find brackets for the transmitter and brackets for the remote receivers in case you'd like to mount the modules up off the ground and out of the way. Also included is a warranty card and a full instruction manual that lists connection diagrams, specifications, and other really important information about this particular solution that you'll need to understand in order to use it correctly. Now, if you stay tuned next, I'll take a closer look at both of the modules, and then I'll come back and explain a few things about this kit that I think really separate it from a lot of other products you may be considering. Included with the kit is a single transmitter module and two remote receiver modules. All of these feature full metal enclosures, which make them incredibly durable and really helps to minimize outside interference from causing any issues with the electronics inside. Let's start with the transmitter module. On either side of the cabinet, you'll find ventilation slots that are designed to let any heat that develops during operation escape to keep the electronics inside at a very comfortable temperature. You'll also find mounting holes that can be used with the included bracketing kit to mount this module up off the ground and out of the way. On the right-hand side of the cabinet, you'll also find a bank of EDID switches, and those are used to adjust the frame rate resolution of your media content, and they're fully explained in the manual. To the right of that is a service port that's used for updating firmware on the module if needed later on. That's a micro USB connection. You can simply connect the cable between here and your computer, move the firmware file to the module to complete that upgrade. On the front of the unit, starting on the left, you'll find a power switch that can be used to turn the module on and off. To the right of that is a power indicator. The minute you add power to the module and turn it on, it immediately starts an internal power on self-test where it's checking the electronics just to make sure everything is working okay. Once it passes that test, it'll light the power LED letting you know the module's ready to use. To the right of that is an input indicator. When you connect this to a media device that you'd like to share the content from with your remote locations, that HDMI connection is checked. Once it's been verified, that LED will come on, letting you know it's a solid connection. This product features local loopback functionality, which allows you to enjoy the content here at the primary location while you're simultaneously sharing it with your two remote locations. And if you'd like to use that feature, you'll connect a monitor up to a port on the back that I'll show you in a minute, and that HDMI connection is checked. That loop indicator will come on, letting you know it's a good connection. Finally, to the right of that are two output indicators labeled 1 and 2. When you connect the LAN cables from the transmitter to your remote receivers, that connection is checked. Once it's been verified, these LEDs will come on, letting you know you have a solid connection to both your remote locations. Under normal operation, once you turn the unit on, the power LED will be on, the input indicator will be on, the loop indicator will be on if you're using the loopback functionality, and one or both of these output indicators will be on depending on which receiver you're using. If you're only using one, one will be on. If you're using both, both will be on. On the rear of the units where you'll make all your connections, starting on the left you'll find two audio output connections. This product features audio extraction capabilities that will digitally separate the audio from the media stream being distributed to your remote locations, and then you can pass that along to a soundbar or home stereo for theater quality audio. And to do that, you'll make a connection either through a coaxial cable or a left and right 3.5mm analog cable to your local audio equipment. To the right of that are two HDMI ports labeled in and loop out. The input port connects to whatever media device you'd like to share the content from with your two remote locations. If you'd like to use the loop out functionality, you'll connect the HDMI cable here to a local monitor. To the right of that are two LAN ports labeled 1 and 2. These connect to your remote locations, again a Cat6, Cat7 cable between here and the remote locations. To the right of that is an infrared output port. You'll use the smaller module in the infrared blaster kits, plug it in there and put it near your media gear. Finally, to the right of that is a DC input port, and that's used with the included power supply. You can plug that into a wall outlet. The other end of that cable has a barrel connection on it, which plugs in right there, and you can finger tighten that collar to make sure it doesn't pop out. That's the only power you'll need to operate the entire solution, because this product uses power over cable technology. Both of the remote receiver modules also feature full metal enclosures, as well as ventilation slots on either side to keep the electronics inside nice and cool. On the bottom of the module are mounting holes that can be used with the included bracketing kit to mount this up off the ground and out of the way. On the one end of the module, you'll find a LAN port right there labeled Cat in, and that's where you'll connect one end of the Cat6 or Cat7 cable between here and the transmitter for transmission of that HDMI media content as well as power. To the right of that is a service port, again a micro USB port that's used for updating the firmware in this module if needed, and you can connect this up to your computer, move the firmware file to the module to complete that upgrade. To the right of that is a 3.5mm port labeled infrared in, and that's used with the infrared module that's larger. You'll simply plug it in there, and that'll pick up the remote control signals at that remote location to be sent back to the primary location over that LAN cable. You'll find a DC input port right here. You won't need to worry about that because, again, the system uses power over cable, so all the power needed for this module is sent over that LAN cable. On the other end, you'll find a full-sized HDMI port right there labeled HDMI out, and that's where you'll plug in a monitor to enjoy the content at that remote location. And that's pretty much it for the remote receivers. I hope that closer look was helpful. Now here are a few really important things to keep in mind when you're comparing the Orei UHD12-EX115-K with other products you may be considering. The first point is that this product is really two products in one. It's an HDMI splitter, like I've explained, that allows you to send the same HDMI media stream to two monitors simultaneously, but it also provides an HDMI extension functionality, which means those two monitors can be located up to 115 feet away from the primary location, which gives you a lot of flexibility in where you locate those secondary locations. Another important consideration is that the product fully supports 4K ultra high definition media content at 60 frames a second. A lot of other products on the market may only support 4K at 30 frames a second, or they may only support 1080p content, so knowing you've got a product that supports the higher resolution means you can use it with all of your modern media gear. The HDMI 2.0 certification is important because HDMI has gone through a lot of changes in recent years, and they've introduced a lot of advanced functionality. So knowing you've got the latest version of HDMI in here means you can use all of your modern media gear and take advantage of those features. The HDCP certification is important as well because that controls copy protection. So knowing you've got one of the latest versions of HDCP on here means you can play a wide variety of different media files. Another important difference is the infrared blaster kits that are included, because a lot of the kits don't include those, which means if you don't have these, you don't have any control from those remote locations over the content you're watching. You basically have to start something here, a video or a movie, run to the remote location, and watch it start to finish. Because this kit includes the infrared blasters, you have complete control over that content from those remote locations. The local loopback feature is really nice as well, which allows you to enjoy the content here while you're sharing it at the remote locations. A lot of other kits that don't provide that means that you can't actually watch the content when you're sharing. You're either watching it or you're sharing. You can't do both. And finally, this kit uses the latest in power over cable technology, which greatly simplifies your wiring because a single power supply at the transmitter side is all you'll need for the entire solution. Everything you need to get started is included with the kit, and with a few simple connections, you can be up and running in no time. I've used this kit for quite some time. I like it a lot. I think you're going to like it a lot as well. So thanks again for watching, and until next time, as always, stay nerdy.